This Tuesday, January 14, 2020, City Council agenda. We are now called to order. First order of business is we'll have a pledge of allegiance by Councilman Smith and invocation, city, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much, Councilman Smith. Tonight, there is no presentation, so we will now move on to the order of business for your city council. Can I get a motion to approve the, okay. It's been moved and properly seconded. Any questions? All in favor by the sign of aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. We will now move on to ordinances on final reading. Madam Clerk, please read 5A.
An ordinance to amend ordinance number 13474, known as the fiscal year 2019-2020 capital budget ordinance, so as to appropriate $100,000 from the Department of Youth and Family Development capital projects, early learning centers, capital grants projects to the United Way of Greater Chattanooga for the Quality Matters Grants Program.
Councilwoman Burris.
Move approval.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Any questions? All in favor by the sign of aye. Opposed is nay. Motion carries. 5B, please.
An ordinance to amend Chattanooga City Code Part 2, Chapter 38, zoning ordinance so as to rezone part of a property located at 1605 East 12th Street, more particularly described herein from R4 Special Zone to UGC Urban General Commercial Zone, subject to certain conditions.
Councilman Byrd, followed by Councilwoman Coonrod.
Thank you, Chair. Is it possible I get John to read that condition so we can have it for the record, please, sir?
Okay, it's basically rezoned subject to the following conditions. Residential uses only, provide off-street parking for all units, revise setbacks to better conform to the residential character of the existing neighborhood as follows: west boundary 5 feet, south boundary 10 feet, east boundary 10 feet, north boundary 10 feet. The fourth condition is maximum height of 35 feet. Fifth condition is subject to, as generally shown on the attached site map, or within 5 feet for building placement with a total of 16 units without further council action. And 6, subject to type C 10-foot buffer with a screen along the shared southern property line with tax parcel 146-0J23.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, John. On that, I move to approve.
Okay, it's been moved and properly seconded. Any questions? All in favor by the sign of aye. Opposed is nay. Motion carries. Item C, please.
An ordinance to amend Chattanooga City Code Part 2, Chapter 38, zoning ordinance so as to rezone part of property located at 3630 Ridgeside Drive, more particularly described herein, from C5 Neighborhood Commercial Zone to C2 Convenience Commercial Zone, subject to certain conditions.
Councilwoman Coonrod.
Come on, Slowpoke. Actually, I may have this. Here we go. It's coming up. Okay. There are 5 conditions with this case. Use is limited to convenience store and related beer and alcohol sales for off-site consumption only. 2, retention of the existing building. 3, no beer or alcohol sales permitted after 9 p.m. 4, detached or pole-mounted signs are prohibited, right? No detached. That's why I didn't say the no word. Thank you. Getting late, y'all. I'm sorry about that. Dumpster pickup shall be limited to the hours between 8 a.m. and 10 p.m.
Okay, it's been moved and properly seconded. Did you have anything, Councilman Mitchell?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I heard beer and alcohol sales. I have not heard anything about alcohol. If this is voted for, does that open up that? potential?
It's, as I understand, this is something that I know the city attorney asked as a clarification, I think as it relates to wine, right? Because
Right.
beer is, wine is technically not alcohol, so in a convenience store setting, to be able to sell wine, it has to have to say the word, is that correct?
Correct. Under the amendments, wine and grocery stores is how that worked.
Oh,
Yes, sir.
okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Let's do a roll call, starting with Councilman Smith.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Mitchell?
Yes.
Mr. Ledford?
No.
Mr. Henderson?
No.
Mr. Gilbert?
No.
Ms. Coonrod? Mr. Byrd?
Yes.
Dr. Burst? Chairman?
Yes.
5 yeses.
Okay, motion carries 5-4. Okay, now we'll move on to ordinances on first reading. Planning items, we'll start with 6A, please.
An ordinance to amend Chattanooga City Code Part 2, Chapter 38, zoning ordinance so as to rezone property located in the 6200 block of Dayton Boulevard, more particularly described herein from R1 residential zone and C2 convenience commercial zone to A1 urban agricultural zone and R3 residential zone.
Is there any opposition here? Is the applicant present? What's your pleasure, sir?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I've heard no opposition to this. I move for approval.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Any questions? All in favor by the sign of aye.
Aye.
Opposes nay. Motion carries. Item B, please.
An ordinance to amend Chattanooga City Code Part 2, Chapter 38, zoning ordinance so as to rezone property located at 2767 North Point Boulevard, more particularly described herein from MR3 warehouse and wholesale zone to R3 residential zone.
Is there any opposition here? Is the applicant present? Okay, what's your pleasure? It's been moved and properly seconded. Any questions? All in favor by the sign of aye. Opposes nay. Motion carries. Yes, sir. Item C, please.
An ordinance to amend Chattanooga City Code Part 2, Chapter 38, zoning ordinance so as to rezone property located at 3505 Divine Avenue, more particularly described herein from R2 residential zone to O1 office zone.
Councilman Ledford.
Thank you, Chairman. This is in your district. If you have no opposition, I'd like to recommend approval. And before we do that, yes, thank you.
Yeah,
If there's
hear-
opposition,
Yeah, is there opposition here? Is the applicant present?
I will continue with my motion to approve if you have no objection.
I have no objection. It's been moved and properly seconded. Any questions? All in favor by the sign of aye. Opposes nay. Motion. John?
That planning commission recommendation?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, John. Thank you, gentlemen, for that. Now we'll move on to item D.
An ordinance to amend Chattanooga City Code Part 2, Chapter 38, zoning ordinance so as to lift conditions from ordinance number 12197 of previous case number 2008-0161 from part of the property located at 1605 East 12th Street, more particularly described herein.
We have Councilman Byrd, followed by Councilwoman Coonrod.
John, could you read the condition that they're trying to lift?
Yes. The condition that's currently on the property, it says limited uses to daycare center only.
Mm-hmm.
So this would remove that one particular condition. And as a reminder, this is not the same property that was recently rezoned to UGC. This is the center part of the building, and so it's currently zoned R4, and this would just remove that condition so they can build basically condo units in the building.
Okay.
And the applicant is here if y'all want to ask them any more questions.
Okay, thank you. No, I haven't had any pushback to this, so move to approve.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Any questions? All in favor by the sign of aye. Opposes nay. Motion carries. Item E.
An ordinance to amend Chattanooga City Code, Part 2, Chapter 38, zoning ordinance so as to lift conditions from ordinance number 9872 of previous case number 1993-0049 from the part of a property located at 2001 North Chamberlain Avenue, more particularly described herein, subject to certain conditions.
Councilwoman Coonrod. Okay, it's been motioned and properly seconded. Any questions? Yeah. Opposition, is the opposition here? Is the applicant here? Okay, we have a motion on the floor. It's been seconded. All in favor on the motion on the floor to deny? Opposes to the opposition, nay. Motion carry. Item is denied. Let's move on to item F, please.
An ordinance to amend Chattanooga City Code, Part 2, Chapter 38, zoning ordinance so as to rezone property located at 1806 Bailey Avenue, more particularly described herein from R4 Special Zone to Urban General Commercial Zone, subject to certain conditions.
Councilwoman Coonrod.
Sure.
Is there opposition? Let me see if there's any opposition here. Is the applicant present? Okay. John, please proceed.
Sure.
Thank you, sir.
There are 9 conditions. They all relate to basically prohibited uses. So the following conditions, basically these would be uses that we prohibited. Wholesaling with accessory warehousing. That probably, Phil, I was looking at this narrative, probably needs to be clear. It shows that these uses are prohibited.
Correct.
So the following uses would be prohibited: wholesaling and accessory warehousing, self-storage facilities, auto-oriented uses, adult-oriented establishments, motels and hotels, open-air markets, kennel, animal daycare facility, animal grooming service, and similar uses of small domestic animals, miniature golf courses, and drive-throughs. Those all shall be prohibited. And again, and the reason for that is that UGC has a lot of other uses that not are necessarily neighborhood-friendly, and so those were the conditions that staff had recommended, and they were concurred upon by Planning Commission. I believe the applicant is fine with those.
Okay, excellent. Okay, it's been moved and properly seconded. Any questions? All in favor by the sign of aye. Opposes, nay. Motion carries. Item G.
An ordinance amending Chattanooga City Code, Part 2, Chapter 38, zoning ordinance, Article 5, zoning regulations, Division 6, R2 residential zone, Section 3894, height and area regulations for minimum building setback to clarified side yard setback requirements for townhouse developments.
Councilman Ledford.
Thank you, Chairman. John, while you're at the podium, will you give us just the cliff notes
Sure.
on that?
All this does is clarify for the R2 zone. R2 already allows townhouses. It's not clear how side yard setbacks are treated for those. And so all this does is clarify that if you have an attached townhouse, that you can have a 0 setback.
Thank you. I move to approve.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Are there any questions? All in favor by the sign of aye. Opposes, nay. Motion carries. Now we'll move on to resolutions. Madam Clerk, please, let's start with 7A.
A resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into a lease agreement in substantially the form attached with the Hamilton County, Tennessee Board of Education for a portion of tax parcel number 126LC001 for a term of 1 year at the consideration of $2 to allow for the demolition and removal of manufactured until and other items located on the premises located at 1510 Hamilton Avenue.
Councilman Mitchell.
Move approval. Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Any questions? All in favor by the sign of aye. Opposes, nay. Motion carries. Item B.
A resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into a premise use agreement with Connect Leadership Foundation and substantially the form attached for the use of the athletic fields located at 6862 Tie High Drive on a portion of tax parcel number 139IB001 for a term of 4 years.
Councilwoman Burrs, followed by Councilman Gilbert.
Move approval.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Any questions? All in favor by the sign of aye. Opposes, nay. Motion carries. Item C.
A resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into a lease agreement in substantially the form attached with the Hamilton County, Tennessee Board of Education for the use of a portion of tax parcel number 168IC032 for the operation of the Cedar Hill Head Start Early Head Start program located at 4701 Divine Street for a term of 1 year with the option to renew for 3 additional years of 1 year each for the amount of $1 per term.
Councilman Henderson, followed by Councilman Ledford.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is in your district. If no oppositions, I move approval.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. I have none. Any questions? All in favor by the sign of aye. Opposes nay. Motion carries. Item D.
A resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into a lease agreement in substantially the form attached with the Hamilton County, Tennessee Board of Education for the use of tax parcel numbers 136LM002, 136LM005, and 136LM006 for the operation of the Avondale Head Start Early Head Start program located at 2302 Ocoee Street for a term of 1 year with the option to renew for 3 additional terms of 1 year each for the amount of $1 per term.
Councilwoman Coonrod, followed by Councilman Gilbert. It's been moved and properly seconded. Any questions? All in favor by the sign of aye. Opposes nay. Motion carries. Item E.
A resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into a lease agreement in substantially the form attached with the Hamilton County, Tennessee Board of Education for the use of a portion of tax parcel number 066MD014 for the operation of the Daisy Head Start Early Head Start program located at 9517 West Ridge Trail Road in Saudi Daisy, Tennessee for a term of 1 year with the option to renew for 3 additional terms of 1 year each for the amount of $1 per term.
Vice Chairman Henderson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think my district would be the closest to Saudi Daisy, so I move approval.
Okay. Obviously, there's no questions. It is close to Saudi Daisy. All in favor by the sign of aye. Opposes nay. Motion carries. Yay, Saudi Daisy. Item F.
A resolution authorizing the administrator for the Department of Economic and Community Development to enter into an artwork creation agreement with the artist Brandon Donahue to provide services for a community-informed mural on the Brainerd YFD Center for an amount not to exceed $30,000.
Councilman Gilbert, followed by Councilwoman Coonrod.
Move to approve.
Been moved and properly seconded. Any questions? All in favor by the sign of aye. Opposes nay. Motion carries. Now moving on to some planning items again. Item G.
A resolution approving a special permit for an A1 urban agricultural zone on less than 5 acres of properties located on the 6200 block of Dayton Boulevard.
Vice Chairman Henderson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This special permit accompanies item 6A that we approved earlier, so I move for approval.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Any questions? All in favor by the sign of aye. Opposes nay. Motion carries. Item H.
A resolution approving a special exceptions permit for a residential planned unit development for properties located in the 7000 block of Hickson Pike.
Councilman Smith, followed by Councilman Ledford.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Is the applicant present? Is there any opposition present? I move approval.
Great. It's been moved and properly seconded. Any questions? All in favor by the sign of aye. Opposes nay. Motion carries. Item I.
A resolution approving a special exceptions permit for a residential planned unit development for properties located in the 7000 block of Hickson Pike.
Councilman Smith,
Thank you,
followed
sir.
by Councilman Ledford.
Is the opposition, or is the applicant present? Opposition present. Look at that. That's work well done. I move approval.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Are you absolutely sure?
Despite the applicant, sir, I would like to move approval.
Okay. Any questions? All in favor by the sign of aye.
Aye.
Opposes nay. Motion carries. Item J.
A resolution approving the abandonment of a special exceptions permit or a residential planned unit development approved by resolution number 29169 for the properties located in the 7,000 block of Hickson Pike and 1701 East Boy Scout Road.
Councilman Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We know the applicant's present. John, do you have a moment to come up? I just want to make sure everybody understands what we're doing here. You confirm if what I'm saying is correct. We just approved a PUD for this same parcel. This was a previous PUD, and we are removing this one for the one in favor of the one that was previously approved.
Yes, for the same property, yes.
Thank you, sir. I move approval.
Okay, it's been moved and properly seconded. Any questions? All in favor by the sign of aye. Aye. Opposed is nay. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Item K.
A resolution approving a special exceptions permit for an existing liquor store change in ownership located at 5032 Brainerd Road.
Where are we at here? Councilwoman Byrd, followed by Councilman Gilbert. It's been moved and properly seconded. Any questions? All in favor by the sign of aye. Opposed is nay. Motion carries. Moving on to transportation, item L. I'm sorry, yeah. Oh, okay. Councilman Smith?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Sorry for backing up just one moment. Hey, John, can I ask a quick question? It's just a confirmation, and I believe we asked this last week, and I'm
Yes.
going to ask it again. The resolutions that we approved previously for PUDs, they do automatically have the site plans attached. Is that
Yes,
correct?
they do. That is correct.
Thank you. I just wanted to make sure that was publicly confirmed again. Thank you. Sorry about that. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Not a problem at all, Councilman Smith. Now, let's move on to item L.
A resolution approving the termination abandonment of easement reserved for the Electric Power Board, Tennessee American Water Company, Comcast Cable Communications, Inc., and Chattanooga Gas Company, and a portion of 2 alleyways located southwest from the 1500 block of West 35th Street and northwest from the 1700 block of Cummings Highway, that the city close and abandon by ordinance number 11218, as rescinded and amended by ordinance 11242, a copy of which is attached hereto and incorporated herein by reference.
Councilman Ledford?
Thank you, Chairman. This is in your district. Without objection, I move to approve.
Okay, it's been moved and properly seconded. Any questions? All in favor by the sign of aye. Opposed is nay. Motion carries. We didn't do L. Madam, yeah, we did. Yeah, she would have shown. Item M.
A resolution authorizing the administrator for the Department of Public Works to renew the agreement with Chattanooga Transfer LLC for the transfer, transportation, and disposal of municipal solid waste and transfer, transportation, and disposal of construction and demolition waste for the renewal period of September 27, 2019 to September 26, 2022.
Chair,
Miss City Attorney, you got the floor.
yes, sir. This matter came up at the agenda session this afternoon. I gave a briefing at that point in time. There was a resolution number 28798 that was adopted by the City Council on September the 27th, 2016, that approved an amendment number 2 to an agreement with this entity, Chattanooga Transfer. That contract went into place here in September of 2019 and is in effect for a 3 more years term based upon that agreement that was approved back in 2016. Based upon my review, it's my legal opinion that the contract renews each year on a 3-year term until 2028. The contract can only be terminated in the event that there is cause resulting from poor performance. And even then, the company has a right to correct the behavior before the contract is terminated. The city did not give any notification to the vendor within the time period required under the agreement, and it's my legal opinion that the agreement has rolled over and does not need to be voted on by this body at this time.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir. Madam Clerk, I want to make sure I got all these items. Did I read K by chance? Is that in? We did?
Yes.
Okay, great, yeah. Okay. Okay, that concludes this part of our council session. Now we'll move on to purchases.
Good evening, council. We only have one item, purchase item for your review and consideration. It's from the Department of Information Technology, a new blanket contract for Dell devices and services from Dell Marketing LP, being awarded to Dell Marketing LP for a total estimated annual amount of $3 million.
Councilwoman Byrds?
So is this another one of these contracts that has automatic renewals for $3 million?
This is a 12-month contract with two renewal options for 12 months each.
Okay, and so that's kind of the same language that was in the other, although this is single source. And under what circumstances can it be changed or not renewed?
Well, if we're not satisfied with the services of the product, the services and product of the vendor, we can then make contact with them to dissolve the contract.
So it's only that sort of circumstance that we're not satisfied. In other words, there's never a chance ever for an RFP.
Yes, I mean, we can go out for an RFP for the services should we get to a point in which we're not satisfied with it.
Is that
we
in
can-
the contract? Is that language in the contract? Is that in all our contracts? I get it. Is that in all the contracts?
There have been terms and conditions that have been standardized in most contracts here in 2017. I believe that language would be contained in there, but I do not have a copy of it in front of me right now.
So, okay, so the issue is this language is standardized in all our contracts?
In all contracts that are reviewed by our office, yes, ma'am.
So, this involves millions of taxpayer dollars. And what I'm trying to understand is when does the general public, when is this not a closed shop?
At the term of the agreement, it would be rebid. If there is a term plus terms that it would automatically renew or renew based upon good performance of that agreement, then there is no reason for it to be rebid. This action by the council in a resolution approves that term in the contract, whatever that is.
Okay, and I guess refresh my memory, but did council approve that language in 2017 for all our contracts?
You have adopted a purchasing manual. You have adopted language that goes in each contract in front of you here, and that language, as far as standard terms and conditions, is at least requested by the city attorney's office each time.
So we adopted a purchasing manual,
Yes,
which
ma'am.
we're still working
Probably
on.
need to be upgrading. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I just want to go on record as saying that I think that, with respect to everybody, I think that's fraught with problems. What it ends up being is a closed shop for any other entrepreneurs. I understand this is a Dell contract, and I've got all kinds of questions about our IT system anyway. But I understand this is I get it.
Yes.
I think this is a bad practice. It reeks of maybe some small-town thinking, and I'm thinking that at some point, and I'm not sure, Mr. Chair, who should be reviewing that? Not reviewing your work, but a committee to look at this, because there's something about this that doesn't feel right to me. The way Chattanooga is growing and changing. And I just want to put that out there for the record. It's up to you, Mr. Chair,
Yeah.
to decide what you want to do about it.
Okay,
But
well-
we're coming up to budget. You're talking about millions of dollars, and no one else gets a chance to bid. And we're a different city now, okay? So Enough said. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, in response to your question, I totally agree, especially moving up into our budget season. It's something that should happen sooner rather than later. So we'll address this at our 1:30 strategic planning meeting next Tuesday.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Well, we got Councilman Mitchell.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll try to be a little more specific. We need more protection than we're getting. We're literally giving all the protection unless we feel that somebody's not performing well, and then they get another shot to say, well, and in the meantime, you know how our system works, the deadline's already gone past, and so it automatically goes into effect. But I'll tell you, this is a perfect example of some technology can come out, and some other product can be very compatible with what we're doing, but this product could be much less expensive, and we're stuck unless someone's willing to tell me right here and now, Mr. Attorney, that if someone comes up with a cheaper price on this particular thing, that is a grievance that we can express, and they can't remedy it.
Okay, sir, and you're referring to the Dell contract?
Yes,
In front of you right now?
specifically.
Right now, you have a specific term of that agreement that would go into effect, and it would be in effect for that specific term unless you can establish that there is a breach by the party in failing to perform, then you're in it for that term. Yes, sir.
Including the 2 other years.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And you're not willing to tell me that finding a less expensive, the same product basically, but less expensive is something that we can do anything about after we enter into this.
Part of that would require some evaluation committee to be able to establish that it is the same apples and oranges to oranges that you're getting. And that's sometimes difficult in software purchases. Yes, sir.
All right, well, I just want to go on record saying we've done a terrible job of implementing this and putting this into our contracts. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Gilbert.
Tony, I know since disparity study should be coming out soon, correct?
Correct.
This is a great opportunity to sort of look at the purchasing and how we do things. I think my colleague has said that one vendor can have a multi-million-dollar contract for years and nobody else have opportunity. So I hope when we do the disparity study, maybe we can look at that also so we can put some language in there that would not allow one company to have so much power and long length of time.
Okay.
Thank you.
Councilwoman Kumrai.
Thank you, Chair. So we're already doing business with them, right?
We do have certain services with them. They do our servers.
Okay, because I'm asking because it says this is a new blanket contract, which
Yes.
means don't have service with this contract, right?
For the products that we're looking
Trying
to
to get-
secure from them.
Okay, so we don't have to approve this, right? And we can send it back to be redone because it's not something that's already, you're utilizing a service and it's just rolling over. So we can send it, say we wanted to go out to bid, or you can rewrite the contract to be something different. Is that possible?
The vote on this is up to our council. The research was done by the department as to meeting the needs of our enterprise as it relates to products and some of the peripherals and things that we'll be needing going forward. Dale presented the information to us that was a cost savings to the city over what we're currently doing, and this was the decision to move forward with the Dale contract.
So, City Attorney, can we have this put out for bid? If it's denied by council, can we put it out, they put it out for bid? Because this isn't a service that we're currently using that's rolling over like the previous one. And then they just made the decision based on research to move forward with utilizing the service without even bidding it out to see if anybody could give a lower cost.
The problem is dependent upon whether you have in this agreement an out clause. If there is not an out clause at this point in time, and it is in mid-term on here, that will be the problem. And I have not seen that contract here at this point, Tony. I'll be glad to look at it and give them that information. Not tonight, no ma'am.
Right, but if it's in the contract, would that mean that's dependent on us to approve it? That's how the purchasing work when they come before us. There's other contracts that's been given, but it's up to us to approve it.
It's up to you to approve an initial term of a contract. I do not know if this has got some sort of rollover provision or not.
Right,
in
it
this term.
doesn't, because we're not utilizing this service for this product, so there's no way possible that it's gonna have that clause in there if we're not using it currently for this service. He just stated that.
This is a new contract. It does not have that rollover
Okay.
item that we were discussing in a prior one. This is a 12-month contract with the option, should we choose to move forward, to renew that contract for an additional 2 terms of 12 months each.
So that is an item that is up for this council's approval at this point in time.
Yes.
And if you choose to not agree to that, then we can try to renegotiate if they are willing. If they're not willing to renegotiate, then you will have to find another vendor.
And I'll let our deputy CIO provide you some additional information.
Okay, just 1 second, if you please. We got a couple of questions that's been holding. Vice Chairman Henderson, then Ken Smith, and then Councilman Mitchell.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I don't have a specific question about this contract. What I do have a concern about is we get these purchases a week in advance, or right at a week. And it should give us time to review the purchases and raise any questions. At our 1:30 strategic planning is a great time to bring up questions then. We do have a city to run, and I think many times we get to the 6 o'clock hour and begin to raise questions about some of these items that are needed to run this city. I think it's only fair that we bring our questions forward before the 6 o'clock hour so that many of these questions can have answers to them, and we're not holding up business. And that's all I got, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much, Mr. Vice Chairman. Councilman Smith?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Tony, for clarification, it says 12-month with the option to renew for 2 additional. That option is something that comes before this council at the end of 12 months. Is that correct?
Currently, yes.
There it is, not an automatic roller, which you stated, correct? Okay, so I support what Councilman Burrs and Councilman Mitchell brought up 110% with how some of our contracts go. This one, though, we're getting confused. It has nothing to do with that. And it's also a single source because we're using another government organization's contract, which means we're getting a way lower price than we're going to if we go out to bid on this particular system. So the reason we do those single source and we use other contracts is it gives us more buying power. So in this particular case, I would highly recommend not going out to bid to the general marketplace when we can utilize another government contract and give us more buying power for what we're going to get. And since this is something that is only for 12 months, which is typical for our contracts, and we will have to approve it again moving forward, I'd like to move forward with this, Mr. Chair. I see that there's more numbers in the queue, so I'll hold a motion.
We still have a number
sir.
of people who has some more responses they would like, comments. At this time, I'd like to call Councilman Mitchell.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I would love to agree with Councilman Smith right here and right now, but I need something, I want to be crystal clear on this, because I think we were going down a road that made it sound like an agreement we're in right now, that it's said that it's our option, but it's absolutely not our option. Is this truly our option to where we can walk away, whether we're satisfied or not? Or is there something in there that says if they correct something wrong, then we can't walk away?
Through the utilization of our standard contracts, we haven't been putting any of those types of clauses in there. We normally typically allow either the city or the vendor has the option not to renew for certain reasons. And so we don't have an automatic renewal in this without coming to the point in which we're seeing that we're both satisfied with the current or prior term of the agreement to renew again for another 12 months.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilwoman Burrs, and then Councilman Ledford.
That's not what the city attorney said. The city attorney said that our standard contract has options for renewal, but the only reason you wouldn't renew is for lack of performance, and then they have the right to correct. Is that not what you just said?
I said that our standard terms and conditions generally have a provision for an out clause, is what I said. And that standard terms and conditions may or may not be applicable to Dell Marketing under a contract agreement through the Wilson County Board of Education, which is what this contract is. It was negotiated by a different entity. We are entitled under Tennessee law to enter into those contracts where it is favorable to governmental entities to do so, and I think that's the recommendation that the department gave you.
And I don't disagree with what my colleague is saying. So just for the record, you're saying that at the end of the year, when it comes before us for renewal, we can say, nah. And we're not opening ourselves up to a lawsuit?
That's correct. It's a 12-month contract with the option to renew.
Okay, and so for me, why are the options, why is that language even in there?
If
I mean, you always have an option to renew. What?
Well, if we are satisfied with the service and products of the company, the contract is allowing us to move forward with renewing the contract again for another 12 months under the same condition or terms of the year that it's just expired.
So let's say we are satisfied, but a newer and better product comes down the road. I understand the state bidding with Wilson County. I get that. A newer and better product comes down the road. I believe the only reason that we could not renew is for lack of performance.
No, I think we're getting it confused with the earlier contract that the city attorney was talking about. That was one that was established and written over 10 plus years ago.
Sure. I get it. So with this one, that's different, and we just have option to renew in there because it's a neato thing to do. And at the end of the contract, if we would like to have another bidder, we can do that.
We have, it's my understanding, there's a 30-day clause in this. If we choose not to renew and we choose to put it out to bid, I think we have that option to do so.
Okay, and we would do that in timely fashion?
We would have to start well in advance of that 30 days.
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Councilman Ledford.
Chairman, since we have our Deputy IT Director at the podium, my question earlier was related to a single source blanket contract under TCA and this Wilson County Board of Education, I guess, add-on or latch on to. Is it in your opinion that this is our best option for
Yes.
right now and is a savings to taxpayers?
We took this, we vetted it in the IT department, then took it to the purchasing department, where they again, in turn, vetted it against the Tennessee state contract, the Wilson County contract, and decided this was the best avenue.
So going down that road just for a second, how many contracts, how did you find Wilson County as the best source for us? I'm trying to get through the process of that real quick.
They're available under the Tennessee state contracts, and under the Dale contracts, you can find Wilson County.
Okay, so your department goes through a pretty thorough process in looking for the best, because you're in anticipation that these types of questions are going to arise.
Right. We vet based on price as well as performance.
As performance, okay. Very
And in
good.
addition to that, then we collaborate with the purchasing department, and then they go and
Correct.
do additional vetting.
So we're not just doing this is convenient for the city. We're actually really looking into and trying to do the best for taxpayers.
There have been months of investigation
Months of
behind
investigation.
this.
Okay. That was my question. Thank you. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Councilman. Seeing no other lights, what is the pleasure, Council? Okay, it's been moved and properly seconded. All in favor by the sign of aye. Opposers, nay. Motion carries. Now we'll move on to other business. We have one package store certificate.
Yes, sir. There is one package store change of name here. The retail store is by Mr. Aoum Jalazi LLC, DBA Lamplight Package Store at 5032 Brainerd Road.
Okay,
And you've already approved that, special exceptions tonight.
thank you very much, Mr. City Attorney.
Yes, sir.
Also, on other business, we have a number of report on debt obligations. Councilman Byrd, did you have anything?
Yes, sir. If possible, I don't know about my other colleagues, but myself, if Tony or someone from purchasing, because I'm still a little confused on the contracts and how things are written up. One contract says this, the other contract says that, and the process, just the verbiage. I would like to get a education session for myself so I can have a better understanding of future contracts that we're getting into to make sure that as my colleague Councilwoman Byrd said, the shop is not closed, that we still leave that open. I understand the renewal process with the one-year options and of that nature, but just the fact that it has to come back in front of us and we can vote it up or down. And I do understand that we want to give the company some security, but I want us to have the same security as well to serve our people. So if we can get together soon to have
Sure,
a,
be glad to.
thank you, sir.
Okay, Councilman, we'll arrange that. Okay, now, if there's no other questions on that matter. I guess we have a report on our debt obligation. Thank you, Ms. Daisy.
Okay, we are required by state law to report to this council what is called a report of state debt obligation. And we have, in conjunction with our interceptor sewer program, approved through capital projects and have approved funding source as the State Revolving Loan Fund. And as such, we have drawn down funds to the extent that we have $42.5 million that we need to report to this organization, and you should have copies of it. And basically what it tells you is the cost of that debt, which is the interest rate for the most part, and certain other information about the amortization schedule. So just information.
Okay. Thank you very much. I see no lights. Well, maybe one. Okay. Yeah, we're getting ready to, now, that was our last scheduled one. Now we're under other business that you, Vice Chairman Henderson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Over the last couple, 3 years, I've had the privilege and honor of working with an organization to bring in over 300 volunteers to help do home repairs on many of our seniors, low income, and military veterans. And we're getting ready again to put out applications for our home repairs. We already have about 300 volunteers that are committed to coming to Chattanooga June 21st through the 27th. And I'm working with Red Bank Middle School to put a place to lodge them. And if any of the council would like an application, please see me. Get it out to your constituents that need help. This is a great way to improve someone's life. There's not much that we can do that's more impactful than restoring and helping our elderly with their needs and their housing and repairs. So if you have any questions, please see me or come get an application. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Mr. Vice Chairman. Is there anybody else that'd like to share other business before this council? If not, I've been asked by Tennessee State Senator Bo Watson to let everybody know that the 111th General Assembly has started as of January the 11th. And he is letting everybody know that you can have access to those hearings by going to www.ksat.org. capital.tn.gov to get all your up-to-date information and review some of the sessions. So please keep that in mind that our Tennessee State Assembly is back in session and you have access to find out what's going on. Seeing no other lights, we will now move on to committee reports. Councilwoman Byrd. Councilman Byrd.
Thank you. We had a ACD committee report, committee meeting today, and we got the Public Arts Annual Report today, and we had a great presentation on predatory lending brought to us by Councilwoman Coonrod.
Thank you very much, Councilman. Councilwoman Coonrod.
Thank you, Chair. So today, YFD, committee meeting, we talked about a program that we're doing inside of Brainerd and Howard schools. You Are Our Future. What else is with FAFSA and also ACT fairs that's going to be implemented in our recreation centers. Just trying to get them to understand the process of filing scholarships, getting them prepared for college. So if you have any kids that attend Brainerd and Howard, expect a phone call from the people that's doing the work to make sure that they're getting their paperwork submitted.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Councilman Gilbert. Vice Chairman Henderson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Next Tuesday, January the 21st, the Legislative Committee will convene in the council conference room, and we'll be discussing our strategic planning. So please attend.
Thank you very much. Councilman Ledford. Councilman Mitchell.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We will have a Public Works and Transportation Committee meeting next Tuesday after agenda session where CARTA will come and give us a presentation on their redrawing of their system. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Smith.
No report, Mr. Chair.
Great, thank you. Now, at this time, we will have recognitions of persons wishing to address the City Council. Mr. City Attorney, would you please read the rules?
Yes, sir. The council has adopted rules here. At the end of each council business meeting, the chair will recognize members of the public who wish to address the council. Here are your rules. You have to come up front to the microphone that is provided for that purpose. No person can have more than 3 minutes to speak. The speaker can address the council only upon matters within their legislative and quasi-judicial authority, and the speaker cannot address them on matters which are not under their authority and or which are regulated by other governmental bodies. Speakers shall not be permitted to use vulgar, obscene language, nor use the floor to personally attack or personally denigrate others, and should address the council as a whole and not make comments directed towards individual council members. You can do it once a day here, and please come forward.
Is there anybody that would like to speak? If not, we are adjourned.
Okay.